What's up, man? Welcome to the first Flag Stays Down pod.
Pod number one. Whew.
Two of the three of us are here, so kind of counts for something.
Yeah. I'm Andy. This is, as
Parker.
you said, yep, it's Parker. As you said, flag stays down. Talking primarily Chelsea, Chelsea FC, basically anything blue through and through. Maybe we'll sprinkle some other stuff in there.
Especially on a day like today, man, where we don't have our Blues to cheer on, but we do have the men's national team who are currently playing right now. So we'll sprinkle a couple of things in here and there to keep the conversation rolling. But yeah, primarily focused on Chelsea. Two American guys who met in college, both found out we were Chelsea fans. I mean, we met playing volleyball and kind of sparked up conversation, and it's like, oh, you find out when someone's a soccer fan, and then find out that they cheer for the same team that you do, and quickly become pretty good friends, right, man?
Absolutely. It's been a minute. Why don't you remind me how exactly did you come around to sporting Chelsea?
Ooh, it has been a minute. Yeah, so my Chelsea fandom started in like 07, 08. Playing FIFA, like a lot of Americans get their first sort of exposure to it, and you kind of pick a team. And then I feel like my story is very similar to a lot, but it's John Terry, Frank Lampard, and primarily Didier Drogba. When you see those guys out there and just how they commanded the pitch and how Drogba was so dominant, I just fell in love with those three, and Drogba especially. He just became that guy that you could cheer for, and I was like, well, I guess I found my team, and I played a couple of seasons with him in FIFA, and I never turned back. So, but what about you, man? How did you find the Blues?
All kind of started World Cup 2006. I think that was Germany, right? So I kind of fell in love with the French team. I know I've gotten some shtick about that in the past, but got the Florent Maludas, the Eric Abidals, Willie Sagnol, and just from there it kind of went to, well, half those guys play for Lyon in France, and so I'm rooting for them. But 2006 in the U.S., can't really watch French soccer.
So couldn't watch much of anything back then, man.
Dude, amen. It was Fox Soccer Channel. Had maybe one or two games a week from the Premier League. And I found out, two or three of those guys from Lyon went to Chelsea, Maluda, Michael Essien. So I'm like, maybe I'll tune in and watch a game. And, just like you, I found Frank Lampard, I found John Terry, found Drogba. Dude, that was Joe Cole. That was that was a fun team to watch. And that's
Ashley Cole.
Ashley Cole. Oh yeah. Man, that'll be a fun Sporkle game at some point. Is 2007 Chelsea team.
I know, man, and it's one of those things where everyone gives you crap about being a Chelsea fan. It's like, oh, you just pick one of the big dogs and everything, which is fair. I mean, when they were definitely good when you and I became fans of Chelsea, they definitely weren't down in the championship or anything like that. But at the same time, we ride it out. We cheer for them every season. They go from winning the league to taking sixth or go down. They have their ups and downs too. So we cheer for them through and through. We support the team, and we don't sort of waver that support. Obviously, we have players that we can cheer for and cheer for other situations, but it's always Chelsea. It always goes back to that, and I think both of us are considered true blue fans. So love us or hate us, we are what we are. We cheer for the team we cheer for, and we've staked our flag for the allegiance of Chelsea. Sticking to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And at one point it was one thing being a Chelsea fan, and you're following the money. Yeah, there's been 4 or 5 clubs since then that have come along: City, PSG, Everton for a brief minute. But we got some history now, so the boys in blue put something out there to back us up.
that they have. So we've got a couple of topics that we're going to touch on. We should mention that we have a third member of this podcast who will be joining us next week. Hopefully, Matt Maciejewski went to college with both of us, also a true blue Chelsea fan, so he'll be joining us. Couldn't make week one. Not a good look for Matt, if I have to be honest with you. It's not a good look missing week one, but he's got a valid excuse. We'll let him off the hook. But yeah, why don't we just rock into topic one, which is transfer window. Couple guys in, a lot of guys out. We don't have the amount of time to talk about all the guys out, but got a couple big ones. Lukaku, obviously the big one, and Saul. And then the other thing kind of on my list to talk about is Conde, the kind of the one we missed out on. So let me hear your thoughts on Conde first, and then we'll kind of work backwards into it. Do you think we missed out there? Do you think we're going to be kind of kicking ourselves in a little bit that we didn't get him?
There might be some short-term pain there. I think having some depth in the defense, especially when you're playing five at the back, is pretty crucial. And signing a young, internationally capped, especially for the French national team, defender would have been huge. I think long term we get him. It would not surprise me if next summer he's in London. But I think short term we kind of just have to hope for no injuries at this point.
No injuries, and one thing that's interesting that we'll talk about a little later, but if a defender gets a red card like a Reece James here, the way our defense kind of shakes out, it has to sort of morph, and we're not as deep at that position as we are in others. So it's an interesting kind of point to bring up.
Yeah, I'm looking at the roster now. I didn't know until, let's see, was it today that they announced the Champions League rosters that Malang Sarr hadn't been loaned out yet.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that either.
I mean, I guess you got, let's see, you got Rudy, Christensen, Thiago Silva, Chalobah, Malang Sarr, and then if you need them, Reece James or Dave.
Yep. And then Chile and Marcus Alonso on sort of the wing back positions as well.
Yeah, so that definitely having a guy who would fit in where Kurt Zuma was, kind of a fourth in the pecking order, but a solid number 4 would have been nice. And we'll have to see. It's a young squad, so hopefully they got the legs to go out in 5 competitions and go deep.
Absolutely, man. Young squad except for Thiago Silva, of course, but hopefully he's not doing too much running up and down the pitch anymore. Focus more than the other guys. So, but yeah, that's the hard thing about Chelsea is we don't always just look at our best 11. We look at our best 22, and how when you're in multiple competitions during the year, it's a grind, especially when you get to January, February, and it's definitely a grind.
Yeah, and hopefully, it seems like Tuchel is in the ear of Marina and in the ear of Abramovich. Hopefully we get to December or January and they listen and go out and grab another defender.
We'll have to sort of follow the transfer market up until that January window, see if we align ourselves with another defender. But we did get Saul, a good defensive midfielder. Kind of see him fitting in that holding midfield along with Kovacic and N'Golo Kante. And I said this to you and Matt in our text conversation, but it's like our defense. We got four strong people. I think it's about our deepest position we've got. I mean, we've got those 4 guys, and it's just I think as long as N'Golo can stay healthy and people can rotate in and out, and Jorginho as well. That's the one I didn't mention, but yeah, I see our defensive mid, our holding play, really the focal point of our offense, and a place where we have depth for days.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you said there is going to be crucial, which is going to be the health of N'Golo Kante. I'd heard, I think since we won the Europa League, he has played a total of 48 matches for Chelsea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And now he's missed, let's see, he missed Arsenal. He came out against Liverpool with the injury to the same ankle.
Yep.
You know, he's 30 now. He's getting to the point where maybe some of these little nagging injuries start adding on that injury prone tag to him. And I think going out and get Saul was, for me, the transfer, the top transfer of the market for Chelsea, because it solidifies that. It allows us to rest Conte, play him against the good teams. No need to trot him out on a Tuesday night at Stoke.
Yeah.
But I think that was a very crucial signing.
Boy, that's a hot take, and I love it. You know, most people look at Lukaku as the no-brainer of the season, but you know, I think the Mendy signing last year was amazing and incredibly crucial for Chelsea's success. And I think you're right, allowing N'Golo to rest, because the injuries that he's got are only sort of they're only healed with rest. I mean, I know that sounds silly saying it, but some of these things, man, you can't work through. You can't just sort of tough it out. And especially a guy like N'Golo, who runs tirelessly and he covers every blade of grass on the pitch, you know, that's when he's most effective. And if he can't do that, then he's not N'Golo. And that's what he wants to do. And that's sort of why these injuries get re-aggravated, because he wants to be everywhere. He hustles for every ball, and he'll need his rest. I think that's the main point, is he'll need his rest, and having a suitable backup for him is going to be incredibly useful for him, useful for the team. And you know, I read today that he told Kepa, he's like, only talk to me in English. don't speak Spanish to me. He's like, I want to be here. And I love that. Those are little things that I love in a team, where it's like, you don't want to be comfortable. You want to be a little bit outside your comfort zone. You want to be part of the team, and the team speaks English. And I know a lot of people speak a lot of languages on the team, but for him to talk to me in English because I want to be a part of this squad, that means a lot to me. That means a lot to kind of getting incorporated quickly, and that it's not just a quick stop for him, that he wants to be here for a bit.
Absolutely. And you know, if they can pull this off like they did with the Kova loan and buy, yeah, I think that sets us up for something scary next year with even more depth. You know, not only do you have Conte coming back, you got Jorginho, Kova, Saul would be there on a couple-year deal, but then you got Billy Gilmore coming back.
True. And
you got Conor Gallagher coming back,
who has had a pretty good start to the season himself too, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, Gallagher in his own right is a box-to-box midfielder, just like Saul has been scoring for West Brom, scored for Crystal Palace. From what I can see, he can make the crunching tackle. He can track all the way back. I mean, we're talking about this year, man, you got 4 quality players for 2 spots. Next year, we're going to have 6.
Yeah. And those guys aren't going to be rotting away on our bench as the 6th option. They're getting first team experience for Premier League clubs, which is going to be crucial for the development. You know, we've seen it before with other players, where go out for a couple of years, prove your worth, and come back and start for Chelsea. And I feel like Tuchel and other managers have proven that they're just fine with that approach.
Absolutely. So we did mention, you know, briefly, Lukaku. What are your thoughts on his homecoming?
The return. Hey, man. At first, I wasn't super excited about it. You and I had talked earlier in the summer, well before the move happened. And I mentioned I didn't want him. But I admittedly don't watch a lot of Italian soccer. I don't. It's not my. I watch a lot of Premier League, and I try to catch matches when I can. But I didn't watch him at Inter a lot, and he has changed his body, and he has changed the way he's played tremendously. And I've seen it just in the couple matches that I've seen him play for Chelsea already. he used to be a bit bigger of a guy, and he's slimmed down a lot. He's a lot faster than I gave him credit for. He's also a lot more agile than I gave him credit for, and his work rate impresses me. Um, it really do. It really does. And his work rate is really great. And then his hold up play, I think, has been brilliant. And I think he'll bully defenders in the box. But if he can be that focal point that people aim for, I mean, we talk about guys like Timo Werner, who when the pressure's on him or when the defense kind of hones in on that dude, didn't see his best ball last year, but with all the pressure kind of focusing internally at Big Rom, I can see our wingers just having field days. I think that it really can open up our team. It really can. We saw it against Liverpool with 10 men in the second half. He was still a focal point. He still opened up our attackers. Mason Mount still got down the side. Like, that was awesome. So I'm impressed. I really like him. I really like his attitude. And man, reading his quotes about wanting to come back for Chelsea, and Chelsea was the reason why he wanted to leave. No one else really made him want to leave, but it was just for Chelsea. So that was, like, again, something that meant a lot. That this is his homecoming. He looks at it as like, I want to come home, and I really liked it. So that's my take. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the move?
I like it. It's a good move. I thought Timo Werner was going to have a breakout year this year. I think just like Kai, I thought, it would take a little bit to get adjusted to life in England. But this is a quick fix and a very good one. What really sold me on it, like you said, was the quotes this week. He goes, I told Inzaghi, who's the sporting director at Inter pulled me out of shit, meaning Manchester United. But I want to leave only because of Chelsea. The guy's heart is here. You hear that a lot with college football teams, with NFL teams, where they do those mental evaluations. They check your commitment to the club, to the team. Big Rom checks that box, and if he can put up 18, 20 goals, I might change my mind on transfer the season. I think it's a good move, and I think competition for Timo is also pretty crucial there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when we looked at our obviously Tammy left the club, and I'm happy to see Tammy have some success at Roma as well. And we saw good moments with Tammy last year, and we saw some not so good moments. And he's still a young striker and figuring things out. And but when you looked at our team once Tammy left, and you're like, who plays striker for our team? And we didn't really line up with one. It kind of was Timo, but it wasn't in that true focus number 9 role. And the thing I like about Chelsea is we've always sort of been flexible with that, as we haven't always had that one guy. Sometimes we do. Diego Costa, like and it's a testament to the team where you can kind of work around different situations. But I definitely think we're a better squad when we have that true scorer, that guy that we can look to when you need them, and comes up in big moments. And those guys typically find themselves in the right place at the right time. And the goals they score aren't always the best. They're not sort of wonder goals. They're not outside of the box, left-footed blasts, but they don't have to be. They're positional, they're strength-based, they're headers, and they're crucial goals for the team. So I think that's where Luke fits in, and even if he's not getting the ball, he's drawing defenders away from other people who you don't get those on the stat sheet. But hey, it's not always about the stat sheet, man. It's about the team winning games. So I think, and you know what? He also knows a lot of the guys on the team already kind of coming over. So it's been a while since we've had him, but he still knows and is familiar with a lot of the squad. So I think that always helps too.
Absolutely, and in a poll on our Twitter, shameless plug, at Flag Down Pod, we asked out of the 3 Chelsea signings this summer. We didn't talk about Marcus Bettinelli, but third string keeper. Um, so out of the 3 signings this summer, which was the best? Bettinelli, Saul, or Big Rom? Big Rom ran away with it, 75% of the vote, with Saul and Bettinelli each coming in at about 12%.
Sure. I applaud the people who are voting for Bettinelli in that pick, but yeah, I think early days too, and Lukaku's already shown his impact for Chelsea. It's not just hypothetical at this stage, but it'll be curious to see when Saul gets his first appearance. We've got sort of a hectic schedule coming up. We've got Villa on Saturday, and then we're already into Champions League qualifying, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, with the schedule tightening up here, let me ask you this: how do you grade Chelsea's attack? Because right now you have 2 strikers, and that's it. What do you do? As the fixture list tightens up here, you just kind of run both until you can't, or where do you go from there?
So are we sort of assuming that Timo would play in where Lukaku is and then just sort of be that central, or do you think we kind of rotate around when Lukaku's in versus when he's?
Well, I mean, according to Chelsea's official roster, you have 2 out-and-out strikers in the squad. You have Big Rom and you have Timo. Kai is listed as a striker as well, although we know that Tuchel doesn't necessarily like to play him all the way up top. Outside of that, I mean, I think you're looking at the academy if you want an out-and-out striker.
Yeah.
So maybe a false 9.
I mean, last year, yeah, exactly. I think last year we got away with Tammy and Olivier as our primary forms of striking in different situations. Obviously, there were games where neither of them played, and Timo started up front, and we did just fine with that as well. So I don't know. I think that's your primary attack, and then if we have to sort of form out lineups where it's Kai and Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic all playing together, and you have sort of that false 9 attack. I don't think it's your go-to, but I think it could be serviceable in certain games. I mean, we have plenty of guys with Reece James and Marcus Alonso kind of attacking down the wing-back side, and a lot of creatives in the mid. I don't think we'll be struggling for shots. We might be struggling for goals, but we'll make opportunities.
Yeah, and something I always forget is that Havertz is he's a big boy. Yeah, I think he can definitely play that false 9. I think he can play as a striker, but again, it comes down to your load management. So I think it's going to be kind of spread the wealth as we get to, like I said, those Tuesday nights at Stoke, or Carabao Cup at who knows where.
Brentford.
Brentford. Maybe you see Cho as a striker. Maybe you see Pulisic as a false 9. I think it's something to look for as we go forward here.
You mentioned a name that hasn't gotten brought up yet, Andy. That's Callum Hudson-Odoi. Man, I don't know where I am on this guy yet. I see the brilliance, I see the pace, I see the creative, I see a lot of it, and then I also see him playing a right wing back at times, and I just don't know if it's him, if it's us, if it's a combination of the two. What's not working right now? Has a lot of talent, and it's no way or shape or form a diss against him at all. I think he's an incredibly talented, player. I just don't know where he fits, where his best position is, what would be the best situation for him, and kind of does that fit at Chelsea? Like, does that fit at our team this year? Does it fit in our team in the future? I don't know. It's sort of an open-ended question of, I kind of throw my hands up in the air when I think about him, and I don't really know where to peg him yet. But he is only 20. I'll also bring up that he is 20 years old. So I'll also say that.
He is, and he's signed through 2024, so he's got quite the contract on him. Um, I I don't think he's a wingback. I don't think he has the defensive ability. Um, I don't think that he will be able to acquire that defensive ability in the time that Chelsea's looking for. Uh, I saw a rumor today that Tuchel wants to bring in Leroy Sané, with Cho being the bait going to Bayern. I think that's Cho's role at the club. I think it's to be dangled out there and swap deals.
And as we've talked about, Bayern has shown an interest in him in the past too, so that also helps.
Absolutely, and just with the system that Tuchel plays, there's no real wingers, and that's Cho's natural position. I don't think there's a space for him at the club.
I think you almost have to play him to show Bayern that he's still got the stuff. That like, oh, look at how good he's doing, almost as that trade bait. I Yeah, he's a tough one for me, man, and I just don't know. I think I would love to loan him out, that he develops into something that we could use in the future, but he almost feels like uh, some of the guys in the long ago past, the Kevin De Bruyne's, the Mo Salah's, the guys that just aren't ready to play yet at Chelsea. And obviously, you and I get shit from our Liverpool fans and our other fans that they're like, oh, you sold Mo. How could you ever sell Mo? What were you doing? It's like he wasn't Mo yet.
Yep.
De Bruyne wasn't De Bruyne yet. He had to go to Wolfsburg to be De Bruyne. And now is he one of the best midfielders in the world? Yeah, but we couldn't use him yet. We were stacked, and that's a good problem to have. But it's also one of the products of being who we are. So
Yeah, I think the best comp would probably be Torgan Hazard. Um, raw, out and out winger, but he needs time to develop. And this is not a club where you're going to be given the time to develop. It's you perform now, or you're playing with the PL2 squad. So yeah, I think you're right. I think he needs to be loaned out. But I think they need a little bit more depth at forward before they're going to loan him out.
yeah, I think that was one of the big sort of transfer deadline days. They didn't want to move him unless they had his replacement kind of lined up, and then a couple of deals got done way late, and didn't have the full time to. If that had all happened a week earlier, I think things may have been different. He would have left on loan this season, but they didn't, and that's fine. If that's our biggest worry, then we're doing just all right. So
Right. So
so
overall, what would you grade Chelsea's off season?
uh, we touched on it just a bit. We did a lot of business on the outside than the inside. I think our net spend was really positive for the club, and I think we were able to improve our squad and add depth where we needed it in a big time. I would have loved another striker. You know what? I actually would have loved if we could have like kept Olivier Giroud. I've got a soft spot for the guy, and I think he still has value for the club. I don't think Tammy Abraham would have wanted to be that only come in Carabao Cup kind of games, and I don't think he would have been happy or motivated to play at that level. So uh, it wouldn't have been a big fit. But if we could have kept him, I think that would have been just sort of the chef's kiss. That would have just been beautiful. But I rate it very good. I rate it probably 8.5, 9-ish out of 10, and um, it's hard to improve a team that won the Champions League. I know we didn't finish in the league where we wanted to, but we also uh, we got Tuchel and we were in eighth place in the league. If my memory serves me, I think we weren't in a good place. Tuchel had, if not the best or the second best record from when he started on. I think it was only to Pep would have been the only person who would have had more wins or more points in the same amount of time. yeah, I think as much as I love Frankie Lampard, I think he wasn't the right man for the job, and I think Tuchel is, and he's done a lot with the team. So hard to improve a team that did very very well last year, and I think we improved it.
I 100% agree. I think outside of getting, maybe that third and a half striker, whether that's letting Giroud stay or not selling Tammy, although that was crucial in getting Lukaku.
Hmm.
Um, I think the biggest improvement to the squad was trimming the fat. I think, you know, Baba Rahman going out again, Emerson leaving, Bakayoko, Danny Drinks, Ross Barkley somehow survived that. Um,
RLC did as well. So
and Lewis Baker. Very confusing. But I think getting rid of all of the extra players, all of the Antonio Conte players, all of the Maurizio Sarri players, um, and just trimming the squad, I think is going to help us more than you know bringing in that third and a half, fourth striker.
yeah, it sets us up for the future. I think we lost Victor Moses this year as well, finally as well.
Just wandering around in Lone Army land.
Exactly.
Oh, Marco van Ginkel also loaned this year.
It's another name that I feel like we've been talking about for 6 years now, and not many caps for the Blues.
Thank you for your service.
Cool. So we've got Villa preview we got to talk about still, but the other point that we wanted to touch on, this may be the overreaction in me, but I did want to bring it up, and that is our dear friend Jorginho, um, Little George, as he's aptly referred to in the text conversations. He has missed two of his last three penalties. Could be a complete overreaction. Everybody talks about penalties, and even Mario Balotelli famously never missed one, and even he missed one. Am I overreacting here when I say that we might have to look at Jorginho not taking the penalties for Chelsea this year? Do we need to give it to a Romelu Lukaku? Do we need to give it to a Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner? The floor is yours. Am I overreacting here? And if I am, should we keep it at George, or does it depend on the situation?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to ask because I've been biased towards Little George since we brought him on. I was a big Sorry supporter, and he's Sorry's son. So
Doesn't like that. He doesn't like that, Andy. He doesn't want to be called that.
oh, I know he's calling Matt out. Matt's about to get blasted.
Yeah, if anyone's listening, our first episode here, Matthew Maciejewski does not like Lil George as much as Andy and I do. That's just the point of the banter here. So
I think it's hard to move a guy who's cool, calm, and collected. From the penalty spot. I don't know how he consistently hits the same spot every time while also doing a hop, skip, and a jump. And the guy's, come on, he's UEFA Player of the Year. He's going to win the Ballon d'Or. Won the Champions League. Won the Euros. the guy just has ice running through his veins. I think if he misses another couple more, maybe he goes one out of his next five, or he misses one in a crucial game, then yeah, maybe you go to Christian, who takes him for the U.S. national team. You go to Ziyech, another guy who's cool, calm, and collected. Kai. But I think Jorginho, especially as vice captain, I think you gotta trust him. You gotta ride it out until it really costs the team.
I like your response. I kind of set you up here, and I wanted to see if you would waver at all. But I do agree with you. In all honesty, I do agree. I think penalty taker isn't your best striker. It's not your emotional leader. It's your leader. It's your calm, cool, collected. And I think it's that calm under pressure type. I have to say I was shocked when he missed in the finals of the Euro tournament. I was genuinely shocked when he didn't hit there. I looked around. I was like, he never misses, and I just watched him miss. And granted, I was 7 beers deep, and I was also going to a Bucks game later that night, so I was all amped on energy. But it was still shocking. I was a bit baffled, but I still think I think you're spot on, man. I think it's the guy who's your captain, who's your leader. He wears the armband when Dave's not in, which isn't much, but he does, represent Chelsea when called and when asked to. And I think that's your guy. That it's always Frankie Lampard when he's in. When that guy's in, he's the guy you want. So even when squad, it's Frankie Lampard, right? So um, I definitely think I think that, and then I also I'm a big believer in what happens on the training ground. So if Tuchel does decide to change it for whatever reason, I think it's not because he misses in a big situation or a big game. It's what happens every single day at Cobham. It's like he's the person who sees them training in and out every single day, who comes to work, who's got the attitude, who's got the swagger, who's got the confidence to pull it off. And those are the guys that I always look when I'm going into battle. Like, who do I want on my left and my right? And you see that every day on the training grounds, not necessarily every given Saturday or Sunday. So that's how I always look at the situation too.
Yeah, and as much as other co-host Matt dislikes Jorginho, I feel like he would agree with the sentiment. Um, I think there's just not another clear-cut penalty taker in the squad. And if someone were to step up, trust in TT, I bet he would, make the change necessary. But us as FIFA managers, I'm sticking with Lil George.
Amen. And it's always fun to throw Matt under the bus when he's not here to defend himself. So this is a lesson for you, Matt. Don't miss another pod. All right. I think we talk about Villa coming up this Saturday. We'll make this relatively quick. We're running up on about 40 minutes here. We'll try to keep these around an hour-ish, plus or minus. But how do you line up the boys, man? We're coming off of international break, so you kind of I think some of it's going to be related to fitness. Christian Pulisic playing on Wednesday, and then he's got to suit up again on a Saturday for Chelsea. So with some travel in there, so that might get factored into it. But let's say everybody's fit to play. How do you line up our boys?
Well, I took that into effect. Who was playing when? Stupid CONCACAF playing 3 games in a week. But you also have to look at who has to stay home in quarantine after traveling. The Brazilian players, the Argentines, basically anyone going to South America is on I believe it's a 14-day quarantine when they get back.
And Pulisic might be, even though he just tested positive. Am I wrong on that? Because I think the EU just put the United travel list, so I don't know how that's going to work out either.
Yeah. Dang it.
I don't know.
I think that's true. But I'm looking at my lineup, and I definitely have Christian in there.
But so do I. But let's say he's good to go. Obviously, we don't have the crystal ball or the COVID crystal ball as Zach Steffen misses the United States game tonight because he was declared out with COVID too. You can't really plan for it, man. This is going to be the year we live in, and anyone can get it at any time, vaccinated or not. It's not a political statement. Everyone can get it. So, but line them up as if everyone's good to go.
All right. So, Tuchel loves his 5-2-2-1. So, what I am thinking here, Mendy at the back. Thought about Kepa, but do I really want Kepa back there? No.
And we've got some midweek games too coming up, so Kepa might kind of rotate him in there.
Exactly. So across the back, you got Chills as a wing back. Give Alonso a break, especially against Villa. Across the back three, Chalaba, Dave, Thiago Silva, and then right wing back, Reece James, although he did play center back for England today.
He's out.
Oh, no. Okay, well.
He got carded, my good friend, in a controversial yet not so very controversial red card. He actually is out. I looked that up before the podcast, before recording. He is suspended again.
Wow,
So
that was such a big deal. I can't believe I forgot that. All right, you want to what? I'm throwing Dave out there as a right wing back, and
all right, Dave's on the right wing back,
and we'll put Christensen in the back three.
Yep.
In the mid, Conte again. He's coming off that injury. Was called up to the French squad anyways. I'm putting Saul back there, giving him the debut. I'm also putting Kova back there because the guy's just a workhorse. Behind the striker, I'm going Ziyech and Christian Pulisic, Captain America.
Yep.
And then a big Rom, again, played 2 matches for Belgium this week. I know Timo did too, but Timo didn't play for, the 3 weeks before that. So I'm giving Timo the nod up top.
I like it. I'm very similar. See, I started my team with Reece James out, as we alluded to earlier in the pod. Right wing back when Reece James isn't there becomes kind of difficult to solve in our current structure. So I think Dave is serviceable as a right wing back in not as crucial of matches. But so against a Villa, I see him. So that's where I started my building of squad. I think Marcus Alonso starts in the left wing back spot. I know Tuchel kind of said he was getting the nod early over Chile just because of some match fitness stuff. But I also believe in inertia a little bit. So I don't know if he makes a switch yet. I'm predicting he stays with Alonso just for some consistency, especially because we have to be a little bit inconsistent in other places. So I've got Alonso, I've got Tony Rudiger, Thiago Silva in the middle, and then Christensen next to him. And then Azpilicueta, the right wing back. I've got Kova and Conte. I don't think Saul is ready yet just to jump into the squad. I think it's going to take a week of some training with the team. Thought about Jorginho in there instead of Conte. That was the one kind of judgment call I could see going either way. But then after that, I think it's our pretty stationed attack of Pulisic and Mount and Lukaku up front. I could see Kai Havertz coming in for Pulisic, especially if Pulisic plays on Wednesday, and that's just too much too soon, given a trip to London in there as well. So I could see Mount on the left and Kai Havertz on the right. But how I would line them up for the match for Villa would be just that. So I think Timo Werner comes in off the bench. I think Jorginho comes in off the bench, and I think Chilwell comes in as well. I believe, did we say this, that we get 3 subs for Premier League now? I think that's how they're rocking with it this year.
3 subs, but 9 on the bench.
3 subs, bigger bench. Yeah. So gives us a few more options to play around with, but I think we're gonna have to keep rotating people in and out, man. It's dealing with match fitness, nagging injuries, and dealing with who can play when is going to be a big deal, and that's why Thomas Tuchel reports to Roman Abramovich and not us.
Absolutely. And especially with the fixture list kind of tightening up here with Champions League play starting, I think this is a good time to get some reps for some guys who haven't been getting them early on. I think you want to go into the Zenit match and then into City and Spurs with a healthy squad.
Yeah, Zenit to make a big splash early in the Champions League qualifying, and then it's is it at City then Spurs or at Spurs then at City? I think it might be Spurs first. Either
Yeah.
way, it's a tough start to the schedule. Playing our big matches on the road, especially. So, after hearing your lineup, I think the only thing I would change would be for me it would be Chilwell instead of Alonso to get him a rep there, and potentially that Jorginho for Conte switch just for fitness purposes. So, but it's one of those teams, man, where you look at it and people coming off the bench start for almost every other club in the Premier League.
Right, and speaking of that, let's take a little bit of a look at Aston Villa. Not really. They were a bigger club at one point, but as of late, boy, rough going. Some common names might stick out to you: Bertrand Traore, former Chelsea academy man; Tyrone Mings, Ashley Young, somehow still alive and kicking. Only a year and a half younger than Wayne Rooney, now manager of Derby County, by the way.
Wow.
Other than that, Leon Bailey, for those of you familiar with CONCACAF, he's a Jamaican forward. And then my boy, Danny Ings.
Danny Ings.
Signed just this year. Man, I can't believe he's only 29. $25 million. Let's see, Villa this year, win, a draw, and a loss. Got a goal differential +1. What do you?
Yeah, so I'm looking at their most recent matches too, and I haven't seen Villa play this year. I haven't watched them yet, but they drew with Brentford most recently. In the League Cup, they won 6-0 over Barrow, which is at least they can put the ball in the back of the net against somebody. But they did beat Newcastle 2-0, and then they lost to Watford in the season opener 3-2. That Watford match, I believe, was pretty exciting from what I heard, and I think Watford's got some gas this year. I think they've got the ability to hover around the middle of the pack. So that one doesn't surprise me a ton, just because I think they're gonna bother some teams this year.
Well, I think where we can get at Aston Villa, and this might be a situation where we need Tony Bruniger in the starting lineup. They have 7 yellow cards through 3 matches. I know that Arsenal's got their run of red cards under Arteta, and I know Chelsea in the Tuchel era has a decent amount. But man, 7 yellow cards in 3 matches, 6 in their last 2, is quite a lot. So if we can get Tony Rudiger, Big Rom, somebody to get them a little fired up, I think that might send Villa into a free fall.
I think you're right, and our creatives, our Christian Pulisic and Mason Mounts, have the ability to make people miss and be rash in their tackles. So I think if that's their tendency and that's where they tend to play, have a good shot of exposing them, and then if you get someone on a yellow, it's a little bit hands off, and now you can really see the full force of our creatives. And where I think we really do well is when link up play with Rom, and then kind of out to a Kovacic or a Jorginho, and then sending balls through to the outside, and it just through the middle, back through the outsides, and we kind of get off to the races a little bit. So yeah, man, I'm excited for the match. I was kind of pacing around this weekend, wondering what I was going to do with myself without a weekend of Premier League soccer to watch, and I didn't like it. I didn't love it, and I'm really excited for this Saturday again. Also, to at least keep tabs on the return of Cristiano Ronaldo to the Premier League, and to follow the big clubs of City and Tottenham and Arsenal and everyone else, and see who else is on, and keep tabs at where things are at.
So what is your prediction for Chelsea against Villa?
I 2-0. I think anything else is not great. I want to see Chelsea put in more goals than they did last year. I think the 1-0s just aren't. Um, so I think 2-0 or a 3-1 kind of a victory would be where I would peg it at.
I agree with the clean sheet. I think the defense is kind of drilled into them by Tuchel at this point. I'm going to go 3-0. I'm going to say one off of a corner, and then my boy Christian. I think he's going to score one.
Nice.
Let's. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so we've got Spurs in the early match against Crystal Palace. That'll be a fun one to watch. Um, United, as we just said, Ronaldo is likely to make his debut against Newcastle, and then City versus Leicester is probably the best match on paper. You agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Leicester's been a little down to start the season, but somebody's got to put up a fight against City. But I don't know about you. Those are all the 9 o'clock games. The match I'm going to be watching is Arsenal and Norwich. Probably could have named this the shit on Arsenal podcast. The record for a start to the Premier League season to have 0 points, or sorry, through the first 4 weeks is Swindon Town, 0 points, -12 goal differential. Both Arsenal and Norwich are at -9 goal differential, 0 points. So how about a 3-0 victory for Norwich?
With Josh Sargent taking 2 of those, right?
Oh, USA.
Got to work it in. The Brentford Brighton match actually kind of intrigues me too. I think Brighton's got some legs this year, and Brentford beat Arsenal, which, as we just said, isn't a big accomplishment yet. But I might tune into that too. It's got some matchups this weekend, so I'm looking forward to at least tuning into a couple of them and keeping track of a couple. I do love when Chelsea plays sort of uninterrupted, where they're the marquee matchup, whether it's the 6:30 matchup or the afternoon 11:30 into that. So so we do have Monday Night Football too. So we've got Leeds versus Liverpool on Sunday as the lone match on Sunday, and then on Monday Everton versus Burnley.
Ooh, that's gonna be a 0-0 thriller right there.
Everton has started the season out decent though.
Yeah, they've been scoring some goals, particularly in the Carabao Cup. But I think coming out of the international break, from what I hear, a lot of the Brazilian players are sidelined with teething issues. So that takes Richarlison out of the attack, and then you got a Sean Dyche team going against that. I just see a whole lot of MLSy balls.
Yeah, which unfortunately isn't as we would call top quality.
That's why we work on Mondays.
That's why we work on Mondays. Liverpool Leeds, that might have 9 goals between the two teams, split any way you like it. So as Leeds has kind of proven to be, they can score goals and they can concede goals. So that'll be a fun one too.
So I think after this week, just pulling up the table here, I think Spurs lose to Palace. I think United wins. West Ham, boy, they look good this year, but they're due to drop some points. I think there's a real possibility, that we could go top of the table depending on our result against Villa.
I listened to the Men in Blazers podcast, and like most people out here, and one of the funny things that Raj said was in the olden days they used to not even make a table after the first 3 matches because who cares? It's not indicative of anything. So top of the table or not, I think we've played probably the toughest schedule on paper thus far to the season, and it's not getting any easier with Tottenham and City both away in the coming weeks. So if we get through Villa with a win, if we get through City and Spurs with, call it a combined 4 points out of those two matches, we might not be top, but I really like where we are. And I like where we are positionally, playing a lot of the hard away games and getting through a tough part of the schedule just in terms of fixtures. I think it's going to be a telling way. And, we haven't talked about it on this podcast, Andy, but man, a draw at Liverpool, 10 men Chelsea team, that's a victory in its own right there. So it's been a great start to the season. It's been a very solid effort from the boys this far.
1 goal conceded. It came via so penalty. I agree. It's looking good, and it should be a fun rest of the season, especially as schedule gets ramped up here. And we finally welcome Matt to the pod.
We will do so. We will cheers him. We will welcome him with open arms, and we'll drink some bourbon. We'll have some laughs, and we'll continue to chat about the season. I think that's all. That's all we can do, and we'll have a good time on the way.
All right. So, again, the plan is for us to record every Sunday night, unless Chelsea plays on a Monday, then we may go Monday or Tuesday. There's going to be some bumps along the way. We appreciate you guys putting up with us. And, we'll try to release content on a weekly basis for you. But we do appreciate you guys tuning in for season 1, episode 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the Twitter is at flagdownpod, and we might get a Facebook or an email address here at some point as well. But right now, follow us on Twitter and work with us along the way. Sort of our first foray into this podcasting thing. We're just a couple of guys who we chat about this on a weekly basis anyway, so we figured we would put it out there and share with people who want to hear about it. And again, we're just trying to have some fun and have a couple of laughs along the way. And it's a good chance for Andy and Matt and myself to get together on a weekly basis. And we live in different cities now, and we kind of grew up together, and now we're apart as adults in the world. And it's a good chance for us to kind of connect up and chat soccer, which we like doing. So appreciate the listens, appreciate any feedback anyone wants to give us, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Well, Park, it's been a pleasure, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. Cheers, bud.
Cheers.